In a galaxy ruled by power and betrayal, Captain Kieran Voss faces a life-altering choice amid the wild jungles of Zarif. He discovers an ancient power, the heart, that could save worlds or doom them. As greed and duty collide, he must confront the ultimate question. What is the price of compassion in the face of survival? If you want to dive into real stories of parallel realities every day, in enigmatic, technological worlds that are completely different from our planet, subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Well, let's go. Captain Kieran Voss surveyed the vibrant, untamed expanse of the Zarif jungle from the crest of a hill, the dense foliage stretching out like a green sea beneath his boots. The planet, a jewel in the vast cosmos, shimmered under a distant sun, its surface teeming with life yet cloaked in danger. Kieran towered at an impressive 6 feet 2 inches, a rugged figure clad in tactical gear that blended the technological innovations of the Coalition with the earthy hues of the jungle. His strong jaw and piercing blue eyes spoke of years spent in the depths of space, harboring both wisdom and weariness. Unlike many of his comrades, he was not simply driven by the pursuit of resources. He was a seeker of truth, determined to unlock the profound mysteries hidden within Zarif. As he stepped forward, each footfall resonated with the pulse of the land, which brimmed with whispers and secrets, ancient tales woven into the rustling leaves and the vibrant underbrush. The intoxicating sense of exotic flora filled the air, enticing him deeper into the verdant maze. Voss had always felt a magnetic pull toward the natural world, a stark contrast to the sterile and cold confines of his starship, the Horizon's pioneer. To the Coalition, Zarif represented nothing more than a cache of valuable resources ripe for extraction, oblivious to the rich tapestry of life that cloaked the planet. But Kieran knew better. To him, it was a wondrous entity longing to be understood. Yet, as he waded deeper into the foliage, an unsettling sensation gripped his instincts. Shadows flitted between the trees, flickering like whispers of forgotten gods, alarming him. Every hushed rustle seemed to carry the weight of something watching, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. He remained alert, acutely aware that in a world so rich with life, every creature could be a potential ally or a ferocious foe. Suddenly, a peculiar arrangement of fractal-patterned vines caught his attention. The bioluminescent tendrils glowed faintly, pulsing as they drew in his curiosity, almost beckoning him. With careful steps, he approached, examining the strange lifeforms that seemed to dance in harmony. It occurred to him that there existed untold wisdom in the symbiosis of Zarif's ecosystem, a world where every element depended on another for survival. Reflecting on the Coalition's cavalier tactics to extract its treasures, Kieran felt a knot tighten in his stomach, but he pressed on. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, filtering through the prominent canopy in ethereal streams, the ambient sounds became more pronounced. Birds with iridescent plumage chattered melodically above, while unseen creatures rustled in the underbrush, their movements both captivating and unnerving. Kieran's heart raced with exhilaration and apprehension, pondering what mysteries lay ahead. It became increasingly clear to him that this planet, with all its beauty and danger, was alive in ways he had yet to grasp. The vast expanse of the jungle swallowed him whole, and the further Kieran journeyed, the more it became apparent that there were forces at play beyond his comprehension. The whispers of the trees intensified, twining themselves around his consciousness, as if trying to impart their enduring wisdom. Among these ancient guardians, he felt paradoxically vulnerable yet emboldened, probing deeper toward an unseen revelation. Without warning, an ear-splitting cry shattered the jungle's harmony. Kieran jolted, instinctively gripping the hilt of his sidearm. He moved, stealthily as a shadow, toward the source of the disturbing sound. The foliage parted as he slipped through, leading to a small glade where sunlight broke through the leafy canopy. The sight that met his eyes was both heartbreaking and awe-inspiring. A vibrant alien creature, resembling a leopard but unlike anything he had ever seen, fought desperately against the raging waters of a nearby stream. Its luminescent fur glimmered in the fading light, but its predicament bespeaked a heartbreaking struggle for survival. Kieran's heart sank at the notion of leaving the creature to its fate. Without thinking, he launched himself into the water, muscles straining as he fought the current. The rush of adrenaline heightened his senses as he reached for the frightened animal, feeling the fear radiate from its sinewy body. Time seemed to stretch as they battled the force of the stream. Finally, with a Herculean effort, Kieran grasped the alien leopard, pulling it close, their eyes locking for a harrowing moment. His human intensity mirrored in its profound, intelligent gaze. Emerging gasping onto the bank, Kieran set the shivering creature down, observing the way its emerald eyes shimmered with a mixture of gratitude and latent wisdom. In the flickering light of the glade, the air hung thick with unspoken understanding. This animal wasn't merely a creature of instinct. It felt like a guardian, an ancient being with untold stories etched in its very essence. As he regained his breath, the leopard began to move, guiding him into the jungle's heart. It led him along a serpentine path wrapped in floral hues that seemed to pulse in tandem with the rhythm of the jungle. Wonder sparked within him. What destination awaited? Each step felt divinely orchestrated, as if the jungle had chosen him for a purpose unbeknownst to even himself. Eventually, the trees parted, revealing an expansive clearing bathed in a surreal, ethereal glow. It was as though he had crossed into a realm untouched by time. Towering trees crowned with bioluminescent blossoms encircled a sacred altar pulsating with deep blue light. Kieran stood transfixed, feeling the very energy of the universe flow through him. It was both intoxicating and humbling. The local fauna gathered around him, creating an atmosphere of reverent anticipation. Realizing the significance of this place, Kieran instinctively understood that he was witnessing something monumental, a powerful convergence of life and energy, the beating heart of Zarif itself. It was a moment when the mundane melted away, birthing the infinite possibilities of existence. However, his moment of awe was abruptly shattered by an invasion of darkness. Shadows congregated, and out of the depths emerged a faction of hostile aliens, fierce and imposing. Their leader, a towering figure adorned in gleaming armor that reflected the jungle's vibrant colors, made an imposing presence that sent shivers down Kieran's spine. He radiated an aura of authority, his piercing gaze locking onto Kieran with predatory intensity. The air crackled with tension as the battle lines were drawn. "Release the heart," the leader bellowed, revealing the true essence of what Kieran had discovered. The entity that pulsed at the altar was not just a metaphor for the struggles of life. It was the heart of Zarif itself, an ancient power revered by the natives. Kieran's heart raced, not only for the alien warriors but for the fate of the heart and what it represented. As Captain Kieran Voss braved the thick jungles of Zarif, each step resonated with an intoxicating mixture of excitement and trepidation. The flora around him was vivid. Towering trees spiraled upward, their leaves, kaleidoscopic in hue, flickering like candle flames against the dappled sunlight. It seemed as though nature had crafted a symphony, with the rustle of vines and distant calls of alien wildlife creating an otherworldly backdrop. But Kieran sensed a lurking tension, an unease that whispered of hidden secrets and deep-rooted turmoil beneath the surface of vibrant beauty. The tranquility was shattered when a chilling, guttural scream reverberated through the air, echoing off the ancient trunks. Without a moment's hesitation, his instincts kicked in, and he sprinted towards the source of the sound. Emerging from dense shrubbery, he beheld a sight that sent a pang of anguish through his heart. A small alien leopard, its fur glistening in iridescent patterns reminiscent of cosmic dust, battled desperately against the fierce current of a nearby stream. The leopard's expressive eyes, overflowing with primal terror and instinctive recognition, locked onto Kieran's own. Time seemed to stand still as he plunged into the icy water, adrenaline fueling his efforts to reach the flailing creature. The river roared, pulling him further away, yet his determination burned fiercely. With each stroke, Kieran felt an unshakable bond forming between him and the creature, as if the universe itself had converged to direct his actions. Finally, grasping the leopard in his embrace, he fought against the torrent to safety. The moment they reached dry land, Kieran could feel the shift in the atmosphere. The leopard's eyes softened, shifting from sheer panic to a trusting sincerity as it nuzzled against him, soothing a fear Kieran hadn't realized lingered within himself. This alien being, with its pulsating energy patterns and vivid aura, held an ethereal wisdom that transcended its age. As Kieran peeled himself from the water, a garland of fragrant flowers intertwined with unfamiliar ferns nudged against his leg as the leopard turned to him, its posture now regal and poised. It padded ahead, its steps almost choreographed, leading Kieran deeper into the heart of the jungle. Their surroundings changed, the air electrified with an unseen essence, humming with the sounds of nature intertwined with a whisper of ancient magic. After several minutes, they emerged into a clearing, where towering trees formed a cathedral above them, providing shelter and reverence. The light filtering through created a cosmic glow, revealing bioluminescent flora that pulsed with an iridescent glow. Here, Kieran felt something shift within him. He sensed that he had stumbled upon a sacred space woven into the very fabric of Zarif. At the center of the clearing pulsated a faint light, a small creature, radiant and incandescent, swathed in a gossamer mist. It was an infant-like entity, the embodiment of life and energy, reverberating with the heartbeat of the planet itself. The presence of the being filled the air with warmth, an aura of serenity that calmed every errant thought racing through Kieran's mind. It was both breathtaking and otherworldly. He understood in that instant that this wasn't merely a creature, but the heart of Zarif, a guardian spirit that encapsulated the essence of the world. He felt an inexplicable kinship with this being, an understanding of its significance, and the enormity of what had unveiled before him. Yet, before he could fully absorb the wonder that filled this sacred space, his senses heightened as he heard a shift in the atmosphere. Shadows darted ominously between the trees, sending shivers down his spine. Sudden cries rang out, breaking the enchantment that held sway over the clearing. From the undergrowth emerged a group of fierce alien warriors, their designs intimidating. Clad in ornate armor that glimmered like starlit steel, they were adorned with symbols of greed and fear, a testament to their determination to capture the heart of Zarif. Kieran's heart raced as the warriors advanced with savage intent, their eyes locking onto the radiant infant with singular focus. The leader, tall and imposing, bore an air of arrogance, topped with a mane of wild hair that curled like tendrils of smoke. He held a weapon made from the remnants of fallen stars, shimmering menacingly as he surveyed Kieran and the heart with disdain. This embodiment of power and aggression relished the thought of claiming what he viewed as a mere tool for destruction. Kieran's instincts flared. How could he protect the heart? How could he stand against this force fueled by greed and hostility? The tension thickened, pulsating with the unsaid words hovering in the air, an impending storm waiting to break. With each second that passed, he wrestled with a profound ethical dilemma that gnawed at him. Should he yield to the warriors to protect himself, or step forward to defend the heart of Zarif? His thoughts raced, grounded by the realization that this was no ordinary creature. This infant bore the energy that sustained the very world he stood upon. If it were to fall into the hands of those who sought to manipulate it, the consequences would be catastrophic. The chasm between right and wrong widened before him, echoing through the centuries as he reflected on the choices laid out before him. Greed urged betrayal. Honor welcomed courage. He inhaled deeply. An idea sparked. He remembered the stories of ascension, whispered among the elders back on the coalition vessels. Tales of a ritual that could thwart those who abused power and restore balance to worlds in peril. Convulsively, Kieran's mind whirled as he formulated a plan, one that did not merely seek escape but reached for hope. Determined, Kieran stood tall, unyielding against the fear coursing through him. "We must unite," he called, his voice echoing in the clearing, steady and resolute. The words felt almost ritualistic, invoking the ancient power coursing through the heart. "We can lead the heart to the ascension ceremony. Together, we can awaken Zarif's true potential." As tension rippled in the air, the leaders of each faction, humans and aliens alike, stared at Kieran. Lost in the depths of his initiative, Kieran had transformed the jungle's urgency into a rallying point, a call to abide by the calling of unity rather than conquest. The gleaming eyes of the warriors flickered with uncertainty as the jungle caught its breath. Kieran held them all in his gaze, desperately believing that a shared purpose could heal old wounds and forge an unexpected alliance. Time weaved like vines around the offered hope, a subtle tension underscoring every heartbeat. What struck Kieran in that moment was the dawning realization. He had just placed the destiny of the heart in their hands, a gamble that rode high on uncertainty. Tension crackled in the air as Kieran stood between the pulsing heart of Zarif and the fierce alien warriors converging on him, their silhouettes stark against the vibrant jungle backdrop. The leaves quivered with an unearthly energy, mirroring the conflict surging within him. Each warrior possessed a unique caste-like bearing, armor woven from the thick, resilient bark of Zarif trees, which shimmered like polished metal under the distant sun. Their leader, tall and commanding with iridescent skin that shifted colors in the dappled light, stepped forward, his expression fierce yet ignited by a fervent determination. "They are coming for it, human," the leader proclaimed in a sonorous yet melodic voice, resonating with the very pulse of the jungle. "This heart is our last hope. Without it, our world withers in despair." His eyes, a kaleidoscope of green and blue, bore into Kieran, demanding both understanding and urgency. Around them, the thick vegetation whispered secrets of ages long past, the sounds intertwining with the distant cries of exotic creatures. Kieran glanced back at the heart, the infant-like being floating gently in its cocoon of translucent light, emanating warmth and vitality. It represented not just survival for the alien race, but also hope for the fragile balance of Zarif's ecosystem, an irreplaceable entity that interlinked their fates. The chants of his coalition comrades echoed through his mind, a constant reminder of the impending doom they faced at the hands of Commander Merrick. They would spare no expense to capture the heart for their own gain, energy weapons primed, ships awaiting orders to strike from the skies above. Exchanging that life for personal safety was a choice that weighed heavily on Kieran. The other warriors by the leader's side shifted restlessly, their weaponry glinting ominously as they exchanged anxious glances. Kieran recognized the desperation tucked within their bravado and felt a surge of sympathy. They were defenders of a dying world, much like himself in the vast labyrinth of choices. Yet, the consequences of their actions loomed overhead like ominous storm clouds. Fueled by an overwhelming surge of determination, Kieran raised his voice above the chaos. "We must unite. The heart can heal your world, but in hands of greed, It will become a weapon, a catalyst of destruction. His own words resonated through the canopy, and for a moment, the warriors hesitated, their mistrust battling against the depths of innate desperation. A fleeting silence enveloped them as Kieran took a vibrant breath, his mind swirling with visions of the consequences should this venture fail. The interconnected web of existence flashed before his eyes, revealing that unfathomable cost of choices weighed heavily on all alive. The heart was not merely an object, it was the keystone of life, essence of what bound the symbiosis between the beings of Zarif and their verdant home. Kieran could almost hear the symphony of the jungle aching for healing, pleading for an intervention, one that could bind them all through a vision for a brighter tomorrow rather than succumb to the allure of power. Fueled by conviction, Kieran gestured towards the distant peaks, where the ancestors of the planet once drew their strength. We can reach the Temple of Essences where the heart can regain its full potential. There, it can become a beacon of hope for all life. We must follow the ancient path of ascension where the heart can awaken the spirit of Zarif, and do so in the name of unity. As he spoke those words, shadows flickered around them, the coalition's soldiers encroaching, driven by ambition and threats. Commander Merrick's ship hung high above, a looming specter casting its dread over the celestial land. Kieran could hear the faint rumble of engines, thrumming almost in sync with the beating of his heart. He had mere moments to sway his would-be enemies to an alliance, or risk losing everything. The alien leader's eyes flared with newfound intensity, reflecting turmoil and consideration, as he turned to his warriors, who awaited their fate like a coiled spring. Kieran sensed their uncertainty, the vast emotional pain they endured due to their world fading away. The coalition of interest flickered in the underlying hopes and fears. Perhaps it was that same vulnerability which made them more human than the humans themselves. Minutes felt like eons as Kieran felt every heartbeat accelerate. Risks were bounding from every shadowy corner of his mind. Here he stood, stretched between the threads of life and death touching them all. And while the notion of personal safety gnawed at him, it was the greater dilemma that faced him. The constant struggle between sacrifice for the self or the selfless act that could forge a hopeful future. Decide now, the alien leader bellowed, the weight of destiny clinging to his words. Tension coiling in the air, Kieran's breath quickened in synchronized rhythm with the flickering anxiety of the moment. They could either stand together against the encroaching danger or turn against one another, lost in the chaos. Just then, the calling of the alert sirens jolted through the foliage, the coalition forces having finally breached the perimeter. Red beams of light began slicing through the jungle, marking targets with lethal intent. Kieran's heart pounded wildly, adrenaline screaming throughout his veins. In a split-second decision, he lunged towards the heart, his body shielding it instinctively from a world that would seek to exploit it. Come together now, Kieran urged. Let our hopes intertwine, let not fear of loss separate us in the presence of something sacred. We are not mere victims, we are the ones who can restore balance. Unite, the words echoed into the jungle like a call to arms. With swift decision, the alien leader turned to his warriors, shouting an echoing battle cry. The ranks shifted as they launched into formation, natural instincts for survival re-established by a newfound purpose. Kieran watched as the two factions prepared to position themselves against the dissenters above them. And as the first shots from the coalition rang out, the warriors, both ferocious and noble, charged forth under Kieran's direction. The growls of the jungle came alive with the clamor of those uniting against a common threat, that primal rhythm echoing their resistance to the impending chaos. The forces faced each other in a pulsating confrontation, light beams dancing like ghosts enthralled by whims of fate, while soldiers clashed among the endless grains. Kieran's heart soared with the collaborative spirit. Hope thrived against the encroaching darkness. Amidst the throes of desperation, the heart pulsed with extraordinary energy, casting a luminescence that cut through the mayhem. But as battles raged and the cries of the warriors filled the jungle with tension, an ominous realization began to settle over Kieran. The conflict materialized as an overwhelming tide, a clash echoing throughout the verdant jungles of Zarif. It was here, in this sprawling wilderness, that Captain Kieran Voss stood at the precipice of a decision that could alter the fate of worlds. The rafters of ancient trees loomed overhead, their twisted branches whispering secrets as they witnessed the burgeoning chaos below. On one side, the Coalition's bristling forces, clad in sleek, technologically advanced armor that shone under the dappled sunlight. On the other, the fierce warriors of the Zarif, tribal and united, adorned in primitive yet beautifully intricate war paint that told tales of their ancestors. Kieran's heart pounded in time with the distant thrum of energy pulsating from the heart, the vibrant, glowing entity that rested steadily in his arms, radiating warmth that felt almost sentient. The wild tension in the air echoed through the underbrush, threatening to erupt into turmoil at any moment. He could feel the weight of responsibility settling heavily on his shoulders. The impending confrontation was not merely a battle between two factions. It was a collision of ideals, spurred by greed, survival, and the pursuit of dominion over this sacred land. As he drew a deep breath, he recalled the tales of Zarif shared by the old sages of the Coalition, stories woven with legends of the heart, the essence of life that coursed through the planet's very veins. Kieran had to remind himself that this power was not inherently evil. It was the choices of those who sought to possess it that led to devastation. That realization sharpened his resolve. Emerging from the dense foliage, he stepped into the clearing where shadows danced and light flickered. The Coalition's commander Merrick, an imposing figure with eyes like cold steel, advanced towards him, flanked by a battalion of soldiers armed to the teeth. His presence commanded fear, his reputation for ruthless efficiency preceding him. Meanwhile, the Zarif chieftain, a formidable warrior named Thalak with a mane of dark, intertwined braids, stepped forward from the ranks of his warriors, eyes smoldering with the fire of impending conflict. Both factions were poised to strike, teetering on the edge of violence as Kieran raised a hand, urging for patience. He knew that he stood alone on this precarious path, bearing the weight of both allies' frustrations and foes' animosities. Resolute, he spoke with purpose, his voice steady yet imbued with urgency. Listen, there can be no winners in this battle. The heart of Zarif belongs to this world, and its power is greater than all of us, greater than greed, greater than all our desires. If we fight today, we will lose what we seek. As he called for reflection, the scene around him froze in a moment of uncertainty. Some Coalition soldiers hesitated, confusion flickering in their eyes, while Thalak remained adamant, his hand gripping the hilt of his ceremonial blade tightly. Kieran's mind raced to the ancient lore of the Zarif, recalling tales of ascension, a ritual where the heart would be set free, allowing it to awaken the essence of Zarif and amplify its nurturing power. There is a path that does not require bloodshed, Kieran proposed, a glimmer of hope sparking within him. Let us unite to guide the heart to the sacred temple for the ascension. Its energy could heal both our lands and our lives, but only if we stand together in this moment. His words lingered in the air, laden with potential yet met with visceral skepticism. The flickering tension created a palpable barrier, poised on the brink of shattering. Kieran sensed the gravity of this moment. The ethical implications struck him profoundly. Should he gamble the possibility of peace against the potential devastation that could unfold if the impulsivity of those around him dictated their actions? If he led these groups in a union, Would he be heralded as a savior or considered a traitor to his own people? Thalak's gaze narrowed, a fierce determination emanating from him like a physical force. You would have us trust the men who have brought war to our shores? His voice thundered across the clearing, drawing the attention of his warriors. You would have us kneel at the feet of the coalition, risking our future for a moment's possibility? He speaks true, Kieran, Merrick added, his tone sharp as flint. We came here seeking what is best for our people. You propose an act of cooperation that holds no guarantee of success. This is weakness. Kieran felt the weight of their judgment upon him, the context of their lives heavy with history, loss, and lack of trust. He contemplated the anguish of the Zarif, their land suffering under imperial grasp, yet simultaneously, he understood the coalition's desperation. Their pursuit of resources stemmed from survival, not just for themselves, but for their very civilization that teetered on the brink of collapse. He wrestled within himself, painfully aware of the implications. Proposing cooperation over combat would either begin a powerful alliance or deepen the rift. Could he roll the dice on the chance of unity, knowing that one wrong step might set all ablaze? As whispers flitted among the warriors, his heartbeat synced with the ambient pulse of the heart, whispering intuitions of trust, connection, and the merit of life. Join with me. Together, we have the power to change the fate of not just Zarif, Kieran continued passionately, his voice carrying over the den, but perhaps even our own worlds. The ascension can illuminate a path where we cease to be enemies and learn instead to stand as one. As he spoke, the jungle around them began to shift. The ancient trees seemed to lean in closer, almost as if they were listening intently. Birds, previously silent, filled the air with a chorus of trills, as if echoing his sentiments. Kieran felt the vibrations ripple through the ground beneath him, a reflection of the emotions swirling in their midst. He was acutely aware of the stakes. This pivotal moment held the potential to breed either conflict or solidarity. Yet the weight of indecision hung thick in the air, pulling and twisting their fates tighter. The Zari warriors cast wary eyes upon Merrick's soldiers, while the coalition forces were equally torn, unsure of their commander's next move. The crossroads of fate lay before Kieran. He could lead them both to salvation, or he might just as easily plunge them into the heart of ruin. Just as tensions reached a breaking point, a wild roar shattered the fragile calm, echoing through the jungle, causing all present to momentarily freeze. Emerging from the foliage, a colossal creature, a guardian of Zarif, thundered into view, its presence both awe-inspiring and fearsome. Its scales shimmered in radiant hues, resembling the very essence of the jungle itself. In that moment of interruption, the world seemed to tilt on its axis. As Kieran Voss entered the ancient temple, awash in the soft bioluminescence of lichen-like flora that thrived in the temple's slit-like openings, he could feel the weight of uncountable eyes upon him. Warriors from both factions, hostile aliens and coalition soldiers, surrounded him, their breaths held in a collective pause, awaiting the outcome of this daring proposition. The atmosphere crackled with energy, thick with tension and anticipation, both parties compelled to witness this unprecedented event. The temple stood as a relic of a time forgotten, where the narrative of existence and the tapestry of relationships were woven into the very fabric of Zarif. Every crevice in the stone whispered tales of ancient guardians who had once defended the heart with their lives. The heavy, worn textures of the walls were adorned with intricate carvings depicting celestial bodies swirling against a backdrop of ethereal colors that seemed to pulse with each beat of life around them. Kieran's heart raced as he scanned the intricately designed altar at the temple's heart, a circular platform, encircled by iridescent stones that hummed softly with latent power. The heart of Zarif lay at the center, a sphere of energy echoing life itself, a beacon of hope nestled amidst the storm of hostility. Listen, Kieran's voice reverberated against the temple walls. The heart is not a trophy to fight over. It belongs to the essence of this world, to its spirit, to each of us. The sharp gaze of Karieth, the fierce leader of the hostile aliens, met his own, the intensity of the confrontation palpable. Karieth, with his skin a vibrant slate blue, adorned with markings that glimmered like starlit skies, stepped forward. With reptilian features and glimmering eyes that bore the weight of ancient wisdom and grief, he embodied a proud race that had witnessed the slow decline of their beautiful planet. What you propose is impossible, human. Our people are desperate. We cannot stand aside while life fades away. Kieran felt the overwhelming gravity of the moment. Here was Karieth, the leader of an exiled species clinging to remnants of former glory, fiercely protective of his people, one who had known loss on a monumental scale. He recognized a kindred spirit in Karieth, rooted in the instinct to preserve, to fight, to protect what was left of a vanishing world. You do not have to bear this burden alone, Kieran replied, desperation in his tone. What if we forge a true alliance? Together we could call upon the heart to unleash its potential, not just for one faction's survival, but to resurrect the balance of Zarif. We can restore the land. A rustle among the coalition troops signaled unrest. Commander Merrick's voice broke through, tinged with skepticism. And what will happen when the heart awakens? Can we trust them? If history has shown anything, it is that greed drives men and aliens alike. The stakes surged as discord bubbled in the air. Yet Kieran remained resolute, eyes glistening with determination. Greed is a choice we make. The heart chooses who will govern its splendor, and it is not merely an object of power. It is life itself, an eternal wellspring that connects us all. Setting his resolve, Kieran extended his hand towards the heart, allowing its energy to engulf him. In a breathtaking cascade, colors exploded from the sphere as strands of luminous energy reached out, creating an intricate web between Kieran, Karieth, and the coalition soldiers. It formed a radiant circle binding them together, the essence of Zarif coursing through each being present, igniting lost connections. The temple trembled as time warped around them. Kieran could sense the deep-rooted memories of Zarif flooding through him, revealing secrets of an age when harmony reigned, when the flora and fauna thrived, not just as the property of its inhabitants, but as custodians of the balance that governed the universe. He glimpsed the consequences of their actions, the time when conquest thrashed across the lands and pushed entire species to the brink of extinction. With steady breaths, he returned to the present, vulnerability palpable in his tone as he revealed the revelation that shone in his mind. This heart will forever shape our future, either as a weapon or as a sanctuary. We need to match its essence with our own. Together, staring in disbelief, Karieth processed the proposal, the fervor in his heart wavering against the legacy of his forebears. The exiled warriors shifted, the tension ebbing as curiosity mingled with uncertainty. Commander Merrick's hardened expression softened, pondering Kieran's vision, yet doubts loomed heavily over both factions. Dedicated to this interplay of emotions, Kieran gestured toward the ancient inscriptions that lined the walls, showcasing alliances once forged, powerful bonds that stood unified against adversity. Memories of friends lost and legends written in the starlit skies above echoed in the temple. We need to embrace our shared destiny. To exist is to be inextricably linked, to honor the differences that unify us. As the two factions moved closer to the altar, Kieran sensed the pulse of energy intensifying, the heart reacting to their willingness to collaborate. With hands outstretched toward the heart, both Karieth and Merrick joined him, hope ignited. The synergy of their spirits permeated the air, and the heart of Zarif surged with vitality, a blinding flash of light enveloping them. Suddenly, the temple walls shimmered with dazzling hues, morphing into visions from Zarif's history unfurling before their eyes. Breathtaking landscapes thriving in a state of true balance, creatures big and small flourishing under the harmonious embrace of nurturing bonds. Kieran's mind was awash with unconditional love for a world that could heal with their unity. As the light receded, Kieran felt an undeniable shift within him. Although the heart never physically reappeared, its presence lingered, resonating whispers of promises fulfilled. They had summoned the vital magic of the essence that tied them all to Zarif. Victory did not belong to any one side, and the battlefield dissipated into sacred ground. Kieran Voss stood, not just as a captain or soldier, but as a guardian of transformation, ready to embrace the reality that while the heart's fate remained enigmatic, their connections had blossomed as they ventured into the unknown together. In the silence, as ripples of rejuvenation swept through Zarif and harmony beckoned for restoration, Kieran realized that their forcible paths had converged not by conquest, but by a profound choice, an unwavering dedication to coexistence. The essence of life had guided them, shining a light upon their potential to forge alliances amidst the chaos of existence. As day turned to dusk, both factions began to depart from the temple, feelings of camaraderie subtly dawning amongst them. If you liked this story based on real events, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like it. Here you can dive into a different reality every day, where anything can happen. Comment below what kind of story you would like to hear here. Thank you very much for your attention. We are the Sci-Fi family.